You might be surprised to learn that there's a monument here in Salt Lake City dedicated to the Civil War, especially considering the fact that Utah wasn't granted statehood until some 30 years after the Civil War had been completed. There's an interesting story and a reason why. As early as 1857, the federal government appropriated money and funding in order to ensure a safe telegraph and mail route from San Francisco to the East Coast. When the Civil War broke out, all soldiers guarding the route were called back east. Immediately, Governor Frank Fuller recognized the need to protect the mail route as well as the telegraph lines and mustered out the Mormon Battalion. 24 men answered the call and followed Captain Robert Burton out into the wilderness for the next few weeks to guard the lines. Shortly after that, President Abraham Lincoln contacted Brigham Young here in the Salt Lake Valley and asked if more help couldn't be rendered. President Young responded, and the answer was 106 other men volunteered to go out with Captain Lot Smith and guard the lines, which they did for the next several months. The monument behind me contains the names of all 130 who in two different companies under Robert Burton and Captain Lot Smith helped guard those mail lines and the mail route for about 3 months at the outbreak of the Civil War. While these 130 volunteers did not fight in any of the main battles of the Civil War, they were still enlisted federal soldiers and were complimented for their sacrifice and service. It was noted that these men, after receiving the call, enlisted, armed, and equipped themselves, being too far from headquarters to be otherwise supplied, and were on the march in 3 days, something otherwise unknown in the history of the Civil War. Histories at the War Department state that as a company or as individuals, their conduct during that expedition was above reproach. Interesting that while the Civil War broke out on the East Coast, God had literally picked His church up, planted them here in what was then Mexican territory in the West, and the Latter-day Saints were largely unaffected, except prospered by the Civil War and the hiring of these men to guard the mail route.
For more information on hallowed ground sacred journeys, please visit virtualtours.byu.edu.